Hello, welcome to I think this is part 6. I think it's actually part 6, not part 5. I don't think we can update those titles now though. Um, but anyway, we are working on part 6, which is going to be building the um, this is going to be building the registration form and probably the login form for our forum application. So if you've been following along the video so far, then you know what we are building. But if you're new, if you're just tuning in for the first time, what we're actually going to be building is some forum software. And we're pretty much going to be replicating not really replicating, but we're kind of going to revisit some of my younger days when I first started to get into programming. We're going to be building a forum script. And a big shout out to Matthew Metcham. He's probably not watching. But I do follow you on Twitter, and I think we've exchanged conversations a few times. But he was one of the founders, and maybe he's the sole creator of Envision Powerboard way back when. I've gone back to 2002, 2004 in this specific snapshot. But this is the kind of thing that I kind of grew up and learned how to create plugins for and themes for way back in kind of 2002 and 2003. It's kind of when I used to kind of hang around building my own forums on web dev, and I used to have great fun and huge fond memories of building scripts and stuff. So shout out to Matthew Metcham. I'll probably tweet you afterwards. But just kind of what we are going to do in this video is we're going to kind of continue with what we've already been building. We've already created our auth, so we can now register users and log users in, and those come into Hasura, and we do all of the password hashing and what have you, and store those in there. So if you've not seen it, go back, watch a few videos, and you'll kind of get an introduction of what all this is and what we're kind of doing here. But I was just kind of browsing the Wayback Machine earlier on today to kind of get a glimpse into history, and this throws back some wild memories for me. This is pretty much where I got started in building plugins for forums, so it's good fun. So today we are going to look at React Hook Form, and we're going to hook this up to the registration and login pages. So let's dive in and let's get going. So first thing, we're inside of the feature auth context still. Did we merge that in to GitHub? Let's check. Did we merge? I believe we did. Auth provided. Yep. So we actually merged that in. So we'll just do git checkout main, and we'll pull that branch down. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and not run yarn, but we'll run npm install, and we'll install the dependencies on the main branch. And then let's go ahead and now install this React Hook form. This is a great, simple hook-based library. The API, the DSL for using this is, I think, a lot lighter than some of the competitors. I was a huge Formic fan, and it's still a great solution. I still think they have, a SaaS offering now, which is really cool for kind of form captures and stuff. But we're going to use React Hook form for this. And we'll go ahead and install this. So when I first heard of React Hook Form, it was probably exactly a year ago, and it came along a huge way. It was actually brought to me by somebody at GraphCMS, McKenna. She started using this library, but when I first looked at it, I kind of dismissed it almost immediately because yet another form state library. There was tons, and there's a lot of battle-tested ones already, so I was very cautious on kind of picking something else up. However, over the last year, I do think that it's improved significantly, and it's now a huge main contender amongst the others. And I think the API is really, really simple to kind of get going with. So we're going to find that out in this video, and hopefully it proves us right. So we got some examples here. We'll probably steal some of this in just a second. But now we've got that installed, let's go ahead and we will run npm run dev. And we're going to create a register page first, because on the index page, what we're doing currently is when we click a button, We're just passing kind of some static data here. And that's not what we want. We actually want to allow users to go and register and input their own name and stuff. So let's actually first just kind of create a new branch, and we'll call this feat register or registration form and page. And then we'll run npm run dev, and that will start the next server. So inside of the pages directory, let's go ahead and create the page register.js. And we're going to need a few things here, I guess. I'm just trying to think how we structure this. So the page, let's just say the page is going to have a login form for name, email, password. It's then going to have to send a post request to /API register. That is the serverless function we created previously, which can talk to Hasura and create the user and return a token. So we'll need to send the request there. And then finally, if there is an error, return the error. And the error is really going to be, the only error to return is, whether something just goes drastically wrong or whether it's a duplicate email. So let's maybe add an error on the email field. I'm sure we can do that. So yeah, let's do that. And if it's successful, redirect to the root. That seems fair enough. So these are the things we're going to need to do. So let's first import. Let's import useForm, and we import useForm from React Hook Form. And then we'll just build out these fields manually, I guess. We'll just. For now, we're not going to worry about styling. We're just going to get the fields on the page so they're operational and they're functional. They're doing what they're supposed to do and returning the errors they need to. And then we can come back when we think about styling our forum. We can style this up. So let's have a look at what we'll do next. So we need a form on the page. So let's just go ahead and export default function. And we'll call this function register page. Now we don't need any static props for this page. I don't think. I haven't decided what the layout's going to look like just yet. So let's just go ahead and render a form on the page for now. And then probably one of the next videos we'll go ahead and create some kind of scaffold for a layout. So I'm just going to create a React fragment here, and I'm going to add an H1 to the page. We'll call it create an account, and then we'll create a form, and we'll say on submit, we'll handle submit, and we'll call the function on submit. So this is just something I've memorized because I've done this a few times already, but we're going to have a function inside of here, and we're going to call this on submit. That takes in the values from our form, and then we're going to do something here. We're probably just going to do this logic here. So login form for email, name, and password. And what we'll do here is we will get going with React Hook Form by calling. We need to bring what do we need to bring? We need to bring handle submit. We need to bring the register, and I remember that from here. So we got register. We add a ref to our inputs, register with the name ID of those fields, and then we can also get some other things like errors and set error. Probably is what we'll need. And we've also got access to form state, and then there's this thing called is submitting, and then we do use form, and then we call that here. Now this here, I know what all these are because I've used this before, but the API documentation is relatively straightforward. Come in here and we can see on the left we've got form state, and then you can see all of the kind of fields in there that you can access. So is submitting is a Boolean, true when the form is currently being submitted, false otherwise. Right, so now we've got the basic form set up. Let's just drop some fields in here. And I'm just going to wrap these in divs for now because we're not styling this, but I don't want to make everything in line. So we'll just add an input type. Don't even need a type. We'll have a name. We'll say this is name. I'll add the ID of name just so these refs have some IDs. And then the ref is going to be register. And inside of here, what did it look like? We have required as true. And then, yeah, I'm guessing it's just required as true. Or I think you can pass a message. This will be used as the required message. So you must provide a name. And again, do we add the full stop at the end, or do we let the front end? And like we've mentioned previously, we'll probably rely on some internationalization library. I mean, we don't even need a library, but if we pass some key, we can just register that message depending on the locale that the user's in. But maybe for now, let's just stick with that. And then we've got this errors, so we need to destructure errors from use form. I'm going to put that there. So if there's an error, we'll display errors dot message. We'll put that in the box below the input. Normally I'd use a span here, but we don't have any style, and it's going to kind of put it to the side of in line with the input, which I guess is okay for now. And this will be name. And let's just copy this. We'll copy it again. So now we're going to have name, email, and ID email. And then, oh, there's a, yep, this is great. So we've got a pattern here for email. We'll just steal this. So we haven't got to go find our own regex. We'll just use, I trust it's a popular regex for emails. Yeah, underscore, yeah, plus, yeah. Yep, so it's fairly generic. Yeah, it's in the right format, so it knows the format we're going to need. And we'll display, you must provide an email if there's an error. And then if there is an error from React Hook form, we'll display that error message. And the message will be, you must provide an email. You can just provide a Boolean here, but if you provide a string, that will be used as the message. Otherwise, I think the message is just required. I think that's the generic message when you mark something as required. Right. Lastly, I'm going to put type here as well as email. And that just kind of helps some browsers with the input field and keyboards with that input. Password, so we'll mask the password and we'll choose password as the name. And we'll also say the name and ID is password. Then this is required and it's password. We could say that this requires a max length. So the max length message will be I don't know what, let's have a look what the default message is. Let's say the max length must be 6. So it must be 6 characters or more. Sorry, it should be min length. Minimum length is 6. And then if there is an error, we'll display what that error is. And then finally, let's go ahead and inside of a new div, we'll add a, not a submit, we'll add a button of type submit. And we'll just call that create account. So when that runs, it will run this on submit, handle submit. It'll pass the values. And then for good measure here, we'll use good old trusty console log, and we'll console log those values to the page. And is submitting, I thought that might be handy if we want to kind of disable these inputs, or disable the button at least. So we could say disabled is if the form is submitting, the button's disabled, so you can't keep pressing that button. Right. So if we head to localhost and we go to /register, it's a bit hard to see what those fields are, so why don't we add a placeholder? And I will be adding labels around these, so it's even more accessible. Your name, your email, and your password. I don't think we need your at the beginning, so let's just make that choose a password. I don't know, your email. If you've got any suggestions, let me know what we should call these fields, the placeholders in here, because we're going to have labels eventually above them. Maybe the labels are hidden for screen readers only, and visually they just look a little, looks a little nicer. Tends to be what the trend is. So, let's go ahead and for your name, let's add my name, Jamie Barton, and we'll pick, we'll just pick my email here, and I don't know, some random password here, and then we'll go. This could just be ABC123, doesn't really matter. Password. That's why that's like that. Then we'll go. So we've got ABC123. I have to remember that. Let's then go to console log, click create account, and then there we can see the values they have updated in here. And if we submit it again, we can obviously alter the details here, and those come through to the console. So we know the values are there, the values are stored correctly, and if we don't input a password, then you'll get an error, you must provide a password. But if that minimum length isn't working though, the error for minimum length. So maybe it does require a little bit more. Min length needs a message. You must provide, your password must be at least 6 characters. And then we'll say the value is 6. Does that work? There we go. So your password must be at least 6 characters. If we have a look at the API for React, use form. Let's have a look at register. Does register have? So it has a min length, and you can specify the length here, but it didn't display an error. So I'm wondering, so register with validation, and error message. Okay, so if you want a message, you've got to kind of specify that there. Although it was weird. Register, we could just pass the message instead of true. So maybe I'm missing something there. Don't think it's important though. We've got what we need working. Okay, so we've got a form here. So all we need to do now is with our password, when we press submit, we need to send this to our API route, and then that will return the token, and then that token will persist to local storage, and then it'll say on the home page, hello, whoever. Okay, so what do we do now? So we send a post request to the API endpoint. So the values will be name, email, and password. I'm going to destructure these because I want to know I'm explicitly sending these. I could just send values to the endpoint as the body, but that means I think it's just a bit more secure if you kind of capture the fields you want and then send those on. And there's kind of less room for any kind of someone, I don't know, adding admin true or something. I don't know. It's just something I do. So let's go ahead and we'll await. Should we await creating user? Oh, okay, so yesterday what we created, if I remember right, was we actually did that API request here. So we need to call this function here. Yep, so we need to import that. Import use auth dispatch from the context of auth, and then we need to use that as well. However, I do spot a problem. We want to destructure register, but obviously our form has also the same register function. So I'm just going to rename this to create user, and then we can use that below. So inside of here, we will just await create user, because we don't need to capture the response. The response does return. It doesn't actually return anything. It just dispatches an action. So this isn't going to return anything anyway. I don't know whether it's worth in here just returning the user. Please let me know in the comments if you think it's worth returning the user anyway. I'm not sure it matters, because we know, where who can all this up ourselves. So we await creating a user, and if that's successful, well, the next step is to move to the index. Move to the root page. So this is going to be router or router. That is then going to be, I think it's just push. Can we just structure the router next? No. We could do it. Let's do use router or router. I'm going to import use router or router from next router or router. I say a router, but everybody else I know says a router. No, I say router and everyone says a router, and I'm just like, I don't know. That's a good poll. Router or router? Right. So once that's successful, we'll move to the index, and we'll catch any errors as well. So we've already said if there's an error, we want to return the error, and if it's successful, we direct to root. So we'll kind of return early. Well, we're not returning early actually. We're trying, and we're catching if there is an error. We will return the error. So I said before, if I remember rightly, if there is an error, so I can't call await outside an async function, that is because this isn't an async function, but it is now. So if there is an error, what we want to do is we want to display, like we did on the right hand side when there's a validation error, on the email I would like to display the error that's returned to the user. And if we go to the API for register, the error that they will get back is unable to create an account with the email provided, try another. So the subject, the context is email here, so I think it maybe is wise to just show it on the email field for simplicity. Maybe it's down the line we add some kind of, I don't know, toaster or box that just appears at the top of the page to say if there's an error. So we're going to need to do set error, and then I think this is the field, and we've got to give it a type, I think. Where is it? Let's go to the documentation. Set error. Set error, we pass the name of the field, which is this name here. Type is manual. Is the type manual? I don't know what manual means here. Maybe it is manual. I don't know. I don't know if that can be anything. Should use TypeScript. And then the message. Well, the message is going to be the message from here, right? So this is going to be, we'll do structure message from here, and we'll just say, let's set a fallback maybe. We know what the message is. Let's just be simple here. Message is message. Was that right? Was that message? Set error. Yep. So type manual message is the message. Okay. Right. So if we go to localhost, and now what should happen is it should send an API request. So I'll just create an account with my GraphCMS email, and I'll copy that, and we'll go to create an account. We see down here it's making a fetch request, and it did successfully create a fetch request, passed along my email and password, and we got a response including my token, and that went here. Now what also should have happened is it saves it at local storage, and it forwarded as well. So it's redirected us to the root of the site. Then we have my name here, and that name is coming from the context provider. And if I refresh, that should persist, which it does. So that is in local storage now, here. So yeah, it's got my name and my email GraphCMS. Cool. So it's got all the data in local storage. So that's fairly simple for register. So we can go back to register. This is probably something where later we look to redirect the user back to the home page if they're logged in, and maybe we could check maybe is there anything in the context provider that we added for this? So we got is authenticated. Where would this be? So we're going to need, let's try this. I didn't want to do this in this video because I thought it might blow the scope. So we'll do const is authenticated coming from use auth state, and then let's import use effect from React. And then down here, we'll do use effect, and we'll say if I don't know, if authenticated, we kind of want to, do we want to return? If we authenticated, then all we want to do is do router.push slash. Okay, so that worked. So I go slash register. It knows I'm logged in, and it goes back. There was a little bit of a flash there. There's no real way to get around that I'm aware of, because we have the token in local storage. If we had the token in a cookie, which is probably better practice, we can obviously access that on the server. So we could say in the, I don't know, get server-side props of this page. So this page always runs on the server. We could check the cookie there of the request and redirect at that point. But that is going to include doing something like, I don't know, res.setHeader, and then what have you. So message from Jonathan there. Yes, I'm doing fine, mate. And then we'll close that off. Yeah, so we're making good progress. We refresh, we have a persisted user, and then we go to register, and then we have it goes, if we're logged in, it goes back. If we log out now and go to register, we have our register form. Cool. So that's working well. Now let's do the same for login. And let's just copy this. And inside of the pages directory, we'll create login.js. I'm going to paste all that in. I'm going to change the button to say login. Now I'm working in reverse here because password's the last field on the page, obviously, and enter your password. And I don't know whether we need to have min length here. I guess it's good practice to do so because the validation is going to kind of persist. But I'm not hugely fond of this because I've seen cases in the past where I've signed up to a service and then they changed their validation for signing up. When they enforce that for returning users who maybe don't meet the new criteria, then there's really no way for me to get in. I'm going to remove the min length here, but I'm going to say it's required because everyone needs a password. So that's the only reason I'm removing min length there, is because if we did change our kind of validation parameters later, we're not going to exclude any previously registered users. And we'll remove the name because we don't need their name logging in. Right. Now all that's left to do is, instead of destructuring register from the auth context, we'll destructure log in. Okay, so we have login, we'll destructure that. And then we will await logging in. And then once it's successful, we'll push to the root. And then here as well, name, we'll do that and remove there. Now there is one thing I forgot to check actually. We forgot to check that this works, set error. So why don't we do it again? Let's create another account but with the same email, and we'll click register. A set error is not defined. Okay, so obviously we need to fetch that in, and I'll do the same on login as well. Set error. So now if we create an account with the same email, we'll click create password. We get an error on the email field, unable to create an account with the email provided. Try another. So that was the email we're getting from the API route that we created, and it knows that that's the case because it's trying to create it on the database, but that's throwing back unique constraint there. So that error's coming back. Cool. Right. So now we need to do this login page, and we're almost there with that. So there's nothing here. We're going to get a 404. Oh no, we get the page because we must have saved it. So, right. We'll save this. On submit, login, send our email and password. If it's good, push it. If it's not, throw that error on the email field. And then we'll just update the H1 for good measure. And then we have fields for on email and password. Brilliant. So this is our H1, completely unstyled. But if you're curious with Tailwind, we can just do text to Excel, and then we can just make that a little bigger. And again, for good measure, we'll add that to the register page. So when it comes to refactoring this, we know what we're looking for. Okay, cool. So login, email is this, and I think the password was ABC123 secure. Login. And there we go. So he redirected me to the index page with my name. And if we refresh, that will just reinstantiate the state of our auth context with what's in local storage. And yeah, we're good. Good. Now let's try if we log in. Okay. So these buttons are on the index page. Let's change these on the index page to be links now. So I'll import link from next link, and let's replace the button for logging in to href/login, And we'll do the same for register. So if we click login now, we go to the login page. If we click register, we go to the register page. And then if we go back to login and we try and log in with an account that we know exists, but we put a wrong password in, we should get an error, invalid email password. Now that error is on the email field, which necessarily might not be correct because it kind of applies to both. So that's maybe when I might just put that error on the page somewhere. I may just have some state for the error and display that on the page, because that error on the login, it kind of applies to both. Whereas register, we know the error returning is about the email because we said there's a unique constraint there, and that's probably the only error you'll get. You may get validation errors, of course, from the database, but hopefully we've trapped those on the client side, so it doesn't make it that far. But we're building this thing in a month, so let's not get caught up in the fine details. That could take us a couple of days to do. Let's just kind of roll, keep going. It works. It's doing its job, which I'm pretty pleased about. Yeah. Okay. So post to APIs unauthorized. Oh, that's good. That's fine. It's not authorized because it's the wrong details. Right. So what we've got is the ability to log in and register and create accounts. I'll push this as well, and if anyone is keen, they can obviously go to jamstackforum.com and they can also log in and sign up and create an account. And then if we just check Hasura and we go to browse rows, and probably just have to refresh now. It's been a few days since I've been here. Cool. So we got that user there, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete those previous records. So we've got this profile here, and I can obviously update that. If I update this now, it's not making a network request to get the current user. We're not doing that at all. We're storing the current user in local storage and in the auth provider context, the context API, because when they log in, that data is going to be the same. So whenever it comes to maybe updating the user from the client side, we'll probably just have to update the data that's in the state. So that doesn't really matter for us, for our use case. We'll just stick with it. Cool. So for anyone that is joining that's new to the stream, today we've been building a login and register form for the API routes that we previously created in another video. And if anybody's curious about what we're building overall, we're going to be building a forum, some forum software, very simple, basic forum software. That kind of throws me back to my childhood. This was kind of one of the forums I used to hang out on and build plugins for. So when I was like 12, 13, I used to start to build plugins with PHP and write themes for things like InVision, XMB, PHPB, and a handful of others. So it's kind of a throwback for me. It's kind of what got me into programming. So I thought it would be quite fitting for the month of October that I stream just kind of recreating and revisiting some of my youth. So I'll share as much as I can with it. I'm hoping to stream every single episode and every single part of building this forum script, so it's all documented. Again, so in the future, in 16 years time, I can come back and look at what I was doing then, and I don't know what we'll be building in the future. We might not even be using JavaScript in the future. I hope. No, I'm just kidding. JavaScript's awesome. Okay, so we can log out, and then we've got that working. Cool. So let's go ahead now, and we will remove those because those are unused now. And then we're pretty much good everywhere else. We've got our forms for logging and registering, and then we've got everything else set up correctly the way that we need it. So it'll just be a case of we've added the new dependencies. Let's just, for the sake of these videos, it's in a pull request, it's in a branch, so let's just add everything here. We'll just say feat, login, register, forms. Whoops. We'll create a pull request for that. And what should we make the body? Ads, register, login, pages, closes. I think it was issue 4 and 5. Was that correct? Four and 5, yep. Yep. Cool, so we've submitted that. And then we can just go ahead and merge that because we know it's good. Or should we wait for the preview? No way. That was fast. 23 seconds to deploy that. I mean, there's nothing, there's not much to it. Now let's check to see whether this works, because yesterday it wasn't because we didn't update the secret key for Hasura. I've done since, but I never tested it. So let's log in here. No, there's probably still an error from, yeah, the tokens probably not in the Hasura tokens probably not in Vercel. So I'll go ahead and add that to the repo, and then you should be able to log in from there. But that's all that issue is. So inside of this pull request, login register forms is complete. So yeah, let's squash and merge that. Squash and merge. Done. I don't think it picked up that issue, did it? It closed the first one, but do you have to write closes number again? Seems silly. We'll close that because it's done. Okay, so we've got 9 issues left. Next is to create a simple page layout, and then create an ask page and form. So that form is going to ask for the title and whatever else. Should we create the page layout now? So I'll switch to the main branch, pull down anything, and run the npm install to run those dependencies. I kind of don't want to create the page layout now because we've been streaming for 43 minutes. Can we do it in the next 16, 17 minutes? Yeah, we probably can create the layout. Let's do that. So create a folder for components, and we'll create layout. And what we'll then do is what we're going to have. So I need to make a decision here whether this layout is going to be automatically applied inside of app, which I don't like doing. And there is a fancy way to use kind of stack props on the component to render the layout for the page. You can kind of export a layout, but I've not done that. I've never done that myself. I've read about it. I know my friend and colleague Jonathan has done that before, so maybe as I get him on this stream to kind of walk through that and point me in the right direction, and we can set up live share so he can do that. We can kind of pair on that. I'd be interested to see how that works, but let's make a decision now that we kind of have to render the component ourselves by importing it and then wrapping the children. And if you're used to something like Gatsby or whatever, there's plenty of ways with Gatsby to kind of hook into the APIs to allow you to kind of do like per page layouts. That's kind of what we want to kind of replicate inside of Next. But I'm not too sure how to do that just yet, and I don't want to waste 15 minutes getting nowhere. So let's just create a layout which takes in the children and that will then return a page. So we will return, probably going to return a fragment here, and then we'll say inside of the main, I'll just do children. I don't want to make too many decisions on the structure of the page at the moment. So if we open up the index page, what have we got? We've got the links. So why don't we bring everything we've got here across to the layout, because we kind of want to show if the user's logged in on every page. We'll bring this across as well. And this authenticated, that's going to appear in the header. So then all we can do on the index is we could just return a paragraph tag that says, welcome to Jamstack Forum. And then inside of here, we'll put this in here, but let's maybe just put it inside of the header. Add a class name, background white. We'll give it some vertical padding, let's say 6, and we'll give it a shadow small, I don't know. And then inside of here, we'll create another div, and we'll say this is going to be max width x, I don't know, 4XL. And then we'll say that's got some horizontal padding as well. And then we'll put MX Auto. So if this looks a bit weird, these are classes from Tailwind. Tailwind's an awesome CSS utility library. And it's got quite a lot of nice things out of the box now. And it kind of takes care of some stuff. So I really dig it. It's pretty cool. So let's save that. If we run this, npm run dev, nothing's going to happen. I know that. It's just going to say welcome to Jamstack Forum here now, which is what we want to see. But we don't. There we go. Welcome to Jamstack Forum. We don't see the login links because we haven't wrapped this page in it. So this is the decision I was saying earlier, is we're going to have to import for every single page the layout. And no, I don't think we should be doing that now. We can do something like, I don't know, index page dot layout is equal to, you know, a custom layout that I may import. So this could be like auth layout, but I'm not 100% how this works. So maybe it's worthwhile getting Jonathan on the stream to explain that one. Or anybody else, if you've done it, please let me know. So we'll wrap our index page with layout, and then now we get this, and it's got the nice wrapper, the container for us, which is responsive. You know, he's got the padding there on the top and bottom, and we've got that little shadow, and that's these are Tailwind defaults. Now, one thing I probably will make a decision about inside of layout is this children. We'll say this is again another div, and that has class max width. What did I say? 4XL. We'll make that centered, and we'll also add some horizontal padding there, and then we'll put that in there. And we could just say padding is 6, so it's, you know, brings it down a little bit there. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. We can log in. Okay, so let's apply that to the login page as well. So we'll do exactly what we did inside of the index page. We'll import from components, layout, and then we will wrap the entire page in layout. We'll do the same to register. Import layout from layout. And we'll close that up here. We'll open layout at the top. So now we've got register and login. Register, login, register, login. Sweet. So if we log in, we'll get this here. And it's going to kick us back to the index. And we get hello, Jamie Barton. And then we get the link, the button to log out. And when I click that, it logs out immediately. All that's doing is resetting the local storage. So sweet. We've done quite a bit there actually. Okay, things are starting to take shape. We've got rid of all the boring stuff. Let's next now just create a checkout for that. We'll just call this simple layout. Apply simple layout 2 pages. I don't know why this is starting to done this again. I did have this set to set the upstream on branch. Get a PR, create, and this closes. This will be closing number 6 was the next issue, and we'll submit that PR. Then let's go ahead, view the PR, and then we can probably just merge it. So let's see how long it takes VSL to deploy this, because it was 20 seconds before, 23 seconds. 24, 25, 26, or was it 32 before? Can't remember. Wow, 29 seconds, new deploy for that branch. I mean, that's just unbelievable. So we'll squash and merge that, refresh the page, so GitHub updates. Squash and merge, we'll just check the files I didn't check them before I committed them. Naughty me. Yeah, looks good. Squash and merge. Squash and merge. Right. So we're down to 8 issues. We're flying. I'll probably create some more issues as well. As I was kind of looking through this stuff, I was kind of reminding myself of cool things back in the day. So we'll probably have to split some of these issues out a bit more. I think there's some of them which is like, create the ask form. That's not going to be as straightforward as we think. We're going to have to, I would like to include a WYSIWYG editor, not a WYSIWYG editor, a Markdown editor, or some kind of like Draft.js or something. I've never used Draft.js. I've used a bunch of others, but I just want to give people the ability to make text bold, italic, underlined. So if you have a simple, if you know of a library that takes care of that for us, that we can inject here, that would be pretty cool. Let me know. And then obviously we need a way to render that content as well. I kind of want to avoid Markdown and MDX. There's a reason in the back of my mind for performance. If we are going to be iterating through, dozens of messages on a thread, having a renderer for each of those messages on the client, I don't know if that is good or bad. I'd be interested to hear from anyone if you've got any suggestions there, but I don't know if that's, if it's even worth doing that. And really, I don't think there's a need for MDX. I like MDX, it's cool, but I think what we're doing, we don't need to display any custom components. Maybe this is a remark plugin. So if we do want to embed things like videos and stuff, we can do that. But again, I'm really conscious of the performance side of this as well. If we're iterating through a dozen posts per page in a thread, if we happen to render each of those individually, I don't know what hits that will have. So we'll have to investigate that when it comes. Right, so now we have all of that. There is one thing that I'm thinking of immediately that is missing here, and that is the ability to have like a members page. If we click this here, it was quite cool back then just to kind of see who was a member, and we had these levels. Wow, I remember levels. So like depending on how much you posted, you kind of got another little kind of badge. It was so stupid, but wow, I can get more badges by writing more content, and it could be spammy content. I guess it fits with Hacktoberfest this year. But yeah, let's do it. We'll create a members list. Back then they used to just display emails. We'll probably have to put some, warning on sign up now that we'll share your email for GDPR reasons. You certainly wouldn't get away with this today, I don't think, unless you say it's cool when you sign up. They had some kind of search stuff as well to search the users, but I don't know if we need that. And there was one other thing. What was I thinking of earlier on? Birthdays. So today's birthday. When you signed up, you could provide your date of birth. Um, this was mainly for Copper, for child online protection, I think, and you had to specify. I think the age was 13 back then. I don't know if that's still the age, or if it's increased. But when you sign up for a service or something, you had to specify your age, and off the back of that, we could also just present users' birthdays, which is cool. So yeah, that might be a nice little thing. We just troll through the users index every day, or on every fetch. We see whose birthday it is today, and we kind of calculate their age, and then we calculate, we calculate their age and we link to their profile. We maybe could even go as far as using Hasura to automatically create threads saying happy birthday to that person, if their birthday is that day. That would be a good use case of their event service. Don't know. We probably won't do that. Okay, cool. So I think this wraps up what I have in store for today. We've done 3 issues. We've closed 3 issues out. Next, let's take on creating the ask page. And this is so we can get data into Hasura for our threads, and we'll create our very first post. So we could tackle that later on today, and get going. So we'll probably do that today. We'll leave out the WYSIWYG editor until I hear some suggestions from people. But if you have a suggestion for anything like GraphJS, that is going to allow us to enter data, make it bold, make it italic, add some images and quotes and things. Very, very bare bones, basic stuff. Give me a shout. Drop me a DM or reply to one of my tweets, just so I can kind of have a look at that, and then maybe we can integrate that in the next episode. And if you've got any suggestions on how to render that in the posts, that would be also cool as well. So I'm going to head back to the main branch, if I can spell, and then we will pull that down, and we know everything is up to date. So cool. Jamstackforum.com. This is where we are at the moment. We've got our Auth all set up. We're able to create an account or log in, and you won't be able to right now because those tokens, the secrets aren't on Vercel from localhost, but I'll do that next. So once this redeploys, you should be able to do that. But now we've got the Auth set up, we can go ahead and we can we can get moving. We can start creating threads, creating posts, and doing all that stuff. So thank you very much for watching. I may be on later today, or we'll do the form tomorrow. I think I need to go for a glass of wine, just to chill out and enjoy the weekend. So I'll let you know what happens later on. I'll be back online later, and we'll take this further, or if not, tomorrow. Happy coding!